Hello and welcome to All Elite Morro. Kieran, Dunphy in the chat already, but I can't wait for this. How are you, Dunphy? New setup for a short period of time. You won't have seen this yet, but due to release on Wednesday is the first episode of Total Extreme Morro. Me playing the video game Total Extreme Wrestling, where I booked WCW from 1992. I have a few episodes recorded, but in that you'll see the office and the background gradually disappear as the days go on. I'm doing a bit of renovations here at the office, so I've moved my setup over here into this room, into my Muhammad Ali shrine room, until the setup is complete. Kieran Dunphy, are you there? Can you hear me? Can you see me? What's going on? So yeah, I had a torrid time actually trying to get this thing up and running in the new setup, but it seems to be working now. The camera angle is a little bit different. It's a little less flattering. Oh, it'd be grand if it was here. The lighting is absolutely dog shit here. David Ayers, how you doing? David, tell me what you think of this setup. As I said, it's temporary. There we have Muhammad Ali. Do a little tour. What else? We have more Ali over there, a bit James Dean. Have Ali and the Beatles over here. As you can see, I'm a massive mark for Muhammad Ali. I'm a big boxing fan too, like so. But yeah, a few things there. I've been counter-programmed tonight by the Fed. I am Jim Crockett in 1988. Raw had to change its time to counter-program me. Not only am I being counter-programmed by Shane and the Wrestling Fan Wrestling Show, I am being counter-programmed by WWE, the biggest wrestling company in the world. Currently in the ring is who was this? Roxanne and Raquel versus Asuka and Kairi Sane. They're having a tag match in Paris. They're counter-programming me. Sounds good. Can't argue with a set up that includes an Ali shrine. Thank you, Oshin. David said looks and sounds good. That's the best angle. That's a good angle there, is it? That looks good. Yeah, so Kairi Sane just hitting a kind of a stunner there now. So yeah, look, had the wrestling on the background. As you know, I'm not a big WWE fan, but I did watch Clash of Paris last night, and I tell you what, I didn't hate it. I did not hate the show. I watched it all, and I didn't fucking hate it. So that's always a good sign. Me and Shane released on the other day. I can't remember what day he put it up this time. So he's afraid to counter program me now because All Elite Morro and the All Elite Morons are starting to creep up closer to him in the metrics. So he dropped this week's pod a little bit early. We did an Eddie Guerrero tribute. That was fun. I love Eddie. I didn't even have a hot take on Eddie. There's no hot take to be had on Eddie. Eddie is one of my goats. I wouldn't have been watching wrestling anymore if not for what Eddie did on, what would you call it, SmackDown in that kind of 02 to 05 years. I don't know if you can see this, but Johnny Martin is sending me this, telling me, don't be cruel when you can be kind. And I can't see it. It's a picture of a cat. It says, the world can be cruel, so I won't be. Thanks, John. You're too good. So let's try and not be cruel. Shane texts me and says, looks like Ali is about to kick me in the head. He's dancing, Shane. He's dancing on my head. That man could dance. A few reactions on the Instagram from earlier in the day. Some of it feeding into what we're saying. Rare Jared Bannon says, rare week where he can watch Raw live. Can't wait. Raw can wait. Oh, I'm beating Raw. I got one person off Raw. And the Eddie tribute was great. Yeah, I love doing the Eddie tribute. Like, it was like, yeah, it was super fun. In fairness, I loved Eddie. Loved everything about him. I think he's one of the most athletically gifted, but also like incredibly smart wrestlers that you'll ever see. What's this Shane sending me something about? Reddit, is this for this? No. I thought it was somebody responding on the Instagram. A lot of responses on the Instagram. R_N, I think it's Ron the analyst, has said Monday Night War has stepped up. AEM going head to head with Raw. The Monday Night Wars are happening. This is the real Monday Night Wars. Will Nolan 99. John Cena is still the greatest and the second best to use the Styles Clash. Um, Depends how you. It was a terrible Styles Clash, but I'm delighted he used it. He just fell forward. It was like I like that match. Sean O'Rourke's response just magical. I think that was to Clash at Paris in general. Oisin Mac in the chat as well. Shane says, "My missus' voice hears Morrow's voice. My missus hears Morrow's voice more than mine." I talk a lot, Shane. I talk a lot. I was over in your house last week too. That was nice. Shane, another thing there we need to talk about is because you're screenshotting stuff and send it to me, and your battery. You need to start taking care of your battery. Ronan C in the chat says he misses the whispers. The whispers might come back. Actually, Ronan, my new show coming out Wednesday where I book WCW, uh, it's a lot more relaxed and whispery because I'm kind of talking through what I'm doing in the game, my booking plans. So it's a very chilled vibe, shall we say. That might be the show for you. It's that I'm actually really looking forward to that coming out because I hope people like it, number one. I hope people interact with it, number two, because it's something I would like to continue. And obviously, if you're just putting it out and nobody's interacting, it's probably not worth doing. But maybe it is. I'm enjoying doing it. So yeah, but that's coming Wednesday, episode 0. Episode 0 is kind of a walkthrough of how the game works, and we booked the first 2 TV shows. Episode 1 then is the first pay-per-view cycle. Episode 2, the second pay-per-view cycle, and so on. So season 1 is going to consist of 12 episodes, one for each month of the calendar year, basically encompassing a pay-per-view. But it's WCW 92 with the full roster. The game is super detailed, so much fun. Looking forward to that coming out on Wednesday. Oisin Mack has a response in from earlier here. Logan Paul had seen it going like it was 2015, and people were telling him he can't wrestle. Oh, we'll get to that, Oisin. I'm looking in the wrong place. I'm looking where the camera used to be. We'll get to that, Oisin. We'll get to the Logan Paul. Can he or can't he wrestle stuff? Cottle Crow says, I see Bandido as a landslide wrestler of the year if he keep up this streak of incredible matches. Cottle, we will certainly get to that as well. Bandido is on a fucking run, man. Jesus. Shane in the chat then said, Cena said he was doing the moves of wrestlers that he won't get to wrestle in the retirement tour. So it looks like confirmed Cena won't be finishing his trilogy with AJ Styles. They're 1-1, so they're going to retire 1-1. So he did a Styles Clash as a tribute. I thought that was cool. It's a pity they won't get to wrestle again. That was their 20. I think it was summer 2016 and then Rumble 2017. SummerSlam 2016, Rumble 2017. They had their 2 matches. They were 2 excellent matches. 2 of Cena's best straight up wrestling matches. I felt like, I think Cena had better matches in terms of the Umaga. That was Last Man Standing, wasn't it? I loved that match. The Punk one was obviously amazing, but at Money in the Bank 2011, the Punk one was obviously amazing as well. But I love the 2 AJ matches, both of them. I particularly the SummerSlam one. Really loved that match. Came at a really important time. And he did the Baron Corbin End of Days as well. Yeah, I noticed that. He did the End of Days slightly better than what he did the Styles Clash. So look, that seems to be a Baron Corbin confirmed not coming back for Cena's retirement tour, or should I say Bishop Dyer. Bishop Dyer is a terrible name. The Nomad was enough. When he went on the Indies first, he was calling himself the Nomad. Uh, he's doing a little bit in MLW at the moment, teaming with Donovan Dijak. David Ayres hopes to do the AJ match. I really hope to do the AJ match as well, David. Um, like it'd be nice to finish it out, have Cena win it 2-1. Jay Buddy says no AJ match. Jay Buddy, our friend from TikTok, Jay is always interacting with stuff. How are you, Jay? Hope you're doing well. Silly move, should have had the trifecta. That would have been fucking banger. Um, I would love the AJ match. I would love that. Let's get into today's topics. Oh no, wait. Ever will do a carbon. Oh no, no carbon. We've no carbon coming back. What are we gonna do? Carbon's doing his thing in MLW, teaming with Donovan Dijak. Um, former WWE Dijak, and they're doing a pretty cool tag team there. Sometimes I dip into MLW stuff. MLW is like a really easy watch. Pity the one have the third match would be great for AJ, who doesn't have long realistically left either. Jarbanahan, I won't. So AJ re-signed a contract this summer, and the rumor is it's a 1 year extension. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the end of AJ's career after the 1 year extension. J Buddy says Bishop Dyer, the Nomad, Baron Corbin can stay in MLW. I tend to agree. I think it's the perfect place for him. Where I don't feel like I have to watch. I can just kind of skip over stuff. Like sometimes MLW do cool things. To be honest, I haven't done anything cool in a while. Let's call a spade here. MLW haven't done anything cool in a while. They had a really cool roster a few years ago, but I suppose ever since AEW came along, both AEW and WWE are. Me and Shane spoke about this on the Eddie Pod as well, like halfway through. AEW and WWE are snapping, like it's almost like an arms race situation where they're snapping up talent younger and younger and younger and putting them in developmental or putting them on into large factions as like the underneath guys. So there isn't many young talent left for companies like MLW, TNA. Like MLW a few years ago had some interesting young talent. I like MJF, um, but those guys aren't out there on the indies anymore. Uh, so yeah, Jay, anywhere you don't have to watch it. Bishop Baron Corbin was so dog shit. Do you know what an absolute travesty is actually? That Baron Corbin is the one that got Kurt Angle's retirement match. Like, just let that sink in for a second. That is fucking insane. Let's get into the main topics from tonight. Starting with Dynamite, I picked two things out of Dynamite. So I don't want if I start reviewing because we have a lot of shows to get to from this weekend. If we start reviewing full shows on all of them, um, we'd be here for hours and hours and hours. Oh, Ronan, yes. Before we actually let's go back to before we get into this week. Um, Carvin did well, or Carbon. Damien Carvin is an infinitely better wrestler than Baron Corbin. Haha, Shane retracted his message. Not before I read it out. Damien Corbin's an infinitely more interesting and better wrestler than Baron Corbin. Corbin didn't do well with whatever he was given. He was given shit as well, but he didn't do well with all of it. I disagree, Shane. Debate me on it. Let's have a chops match in our new wrestling ring, and the feud can be over. Did Corbin do well with everything he was given? Like he was the most okay wrestler of all time. We have Finn Balor and is that JD Whitten coming to the ring here on Raw with the tag titles. The tag titles look pretty cool. They're better than the heavyweight titles. Still has the stupid big WWE in the middle in a different color. But they do look kind of cool. It's cool to see two Irishmen with the titles. Hopefully it'll come back to OTT again. That was banger when they were here last year. Best WWE bit of the weekend was definitely telling people in the US to get a VPN to watch WWE. The week after they signed the 340 million a year deal with ESPN, one of the biggest, probably the broadcaster with the most sports reach in the US. Thank you, Jay. Baron Corbin was bloody awful. Stephanie McMahon on her podcast is advertising VPNs to get people to watch WWE in the US using Netflix so they don't have to pay for ESPN. The very company that you work for, that your husband is the head of creative for, you're advertising people to circumnavigate your partners. I thought tremendous match on AEW Dynamite this week. Mox and Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia, that was the hottest he felt in ages. Just a really good pro wrestling match. It was like something you would see a Bret Hart match on TV in 1993, 94, or on like a B level pay per view. It was very much paced and laid out like an old Bret Hart match where you're getting over a younger talent while still beating them. I thought this match was done so well. I'd highly recommend anyone who hasn't seen it. The John Moxley Daniel Garcia match from Dynamite this week. Obviously, Moxley wins, but Garcia puts in a fantastic performance. The one thing about Garcia is a lot of people think his kind of pushes have stalled over the last few years, and they have in a way, but also in some ways, I think that's kind of helped him because he is a much more all round performer now than he was a couple of years ago when these pushes kind of started. He just gets the little things more than he did before. So maybe this is the perfect time for Garcia's push, and especially with Swerve and Ospreay been on the sidelines for what appears to be the foreseeable future. Swerve probably not so much. I expect Swerve to be back. What are we now? September. I expect Swerve to be back November. I expect Ospreay probably best case scenario April. What's the excuse I'm making, Shen? That they stalled Garcia's push. Is that the excuse? I'm not making an excuse. It was a shitty idea when they stalled his push originally, but it might be one of them things that work out for the better for Garcia. Um, Part of stalling his push though was his own fault. He hadn't signed a contract, and they were originally going to put him over MJF. He hadn't signed a contract, so uh, it was like, well, we can't have him beat MJF if he hasn't signed a new contract. So we'll have MJF beat him and then Garcia attack him after the match. So, but yeah, like he would have gone over MJF and got his push then, but he hadn't signed his contract. Part of the reason of his stall push as well is not that they stalled his push, is that they put him in a program with Adam Cole, and Adam Cole was ice cold. Um, and it that he in fair he actually went from the MJF feud where MJF and Garcia had one of their best feuds last year, and then MJF or Garcia went from that into the Jack Perry feud. Obviously, Jack Perry was cold. Um, it cooled Garcia's heat coming out of the MJF feud. Then Garcia goes from the Jack Perry feud into an extended program with Adam Cole and his group. And while he was having decent matches on Collision, he was in a program with Adam Cole who was cold, and that really hurt Cole or Garcia's stock over the last year. Really felt like with the Nigel McGuinness stuff recently and now the Mock stuff, this guy's heating back up massively. Also, a big shout out to Matt Menard. Matt Menard, I think Matt Menard, Adam Cole, just call him Adam Cole. Well, look, obviously get well soon to Adam Cole, but Adam was cold. Um, uh, Big shout out to Matt Menard. I think Matt Menard could be like has the potential to be an incredible babyface manager because he's great on the mic, but he's also, if you watch him, he's so great at ringside in terms of getting the crowd engaged into the person he's at ringside for. It's crazy, Jay, that Adam Cole got called. It's probably overexposure as well. It's like Adam Cole was so great at the Indies. He had like really a great run in NXT. And then he goes to AEW, starts off again super hot. And then the MJF stuff and the injury coming out of that, he never recovered. But I suppose it's a case of we are, we're what, on year 10, 11 of Adam Cole exposure. So it's hard to know. Who's going back? Is it Mox or Y2J? Y2J is going back. I don't think Mox is leaving. Um, David Ayres said, I think Mox happy in AEW, can't see him leaving. Yeah, I don't. Mox, if you read Mox's book, that guy's never gone back to WWE. I think what he will eventually do, his contract runs is until 2028. I think what we could see out of Mox after 2028 is limited schedule plus more of an indie run is what I could see. I think you're right. Yeah, WWE would net this current version of WWE glossy and shiny and putting Mox in there because we've seen the last few years what Mox's vision of professional wrestling is, and it really does not mesh really does not mesh with WWE's current product. O'Shea McCarthy says that this is Adam Cole. They done him dirty with the TNT title reign, was never really showcased beyond Collision. I'd love, yeah, Jay, I'd love to see Mox do a full New Japan, like a full, at least 1 year full New Japan schedule. They could do it as well. O'Shea, I slightly disagree with you on that in terms of other people have gotten over on Collision. Uh, they could have featured them more on Dynamite, but other people have gotten over on Collision. And is this Adam Cole or Garcia actually? Yeah, I think that's an important distinction because if you're talking about Garcia, I actually agree with you. But Cole has the profile that he should have been able to stay hot on Collision, especially with Collision, how it's been going recently. Can't see Jerbanan, can't see Mox back in WWE, although he really looks like Triple H in that thumbnail. He kind of does actually, doesn't he? Uh, But and so they had a tremendous match on Dynamite, and then they followed up the angle of kind of Mox secretly, not so secretly, it's on fucking TV, but Mox trying to recruit Daniel Garcia. So I guess the whole thing is, will Garcia join the Debt Riders? Yeah, Oshin, right. If you're alluding to Garcia, I can see where you're coming from. Definitely. Yeah, Garcia had come off a major program, two major programs, and then it's not that he was relegated to Collision, but he wasn't yet at a place where he could carry Collision and bring his heat over to the lesser show. It is the lesser show. I don't know why I'm putting quotes on that, but he could have done with more featuring on Dynamite as well. Um, and he's a guy that probably should have in that January period have been involved more with the Debt Riders because he was there at the start of the storyline. Does AEW have too many big indie stars that to get lost in the shuffle? Definitely, definitely. They're doing 2025. They've done a much better job of keeping people fresh and keeping people hot. But I think 2024 certainly uh, a lot of get people getting lost in the shuffle. Like if you look at what they've done this year with the likes of Josh Alexander, Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, um, they've done a much better job at giving people the time and the featured spots on Dynamite to keep them hot and not have them get lost in the shuffle. But look, it's the same with any company. Like these wrestling companies hire so many people. Um, that there's always going to be talent getting lost in the shuffle. Like there's probably across WWE and AEW enough people to make a viable third promotion. Do you know what I mean? Bandido have been unreal. Bandido have been the best, in my opinion, one of the best things to come out of the summer, or like months of July and August on AEW television. They're just a shot of adrenaline into the show. Brody King is so awesome. Bandido is just incredible. Perfect tag team. Who knew their aesthetics would blend so well together? And having them guys now on TV more often as tag team champions, like I think the strength of AEW in 2025 is how fresh the TV feels because the people who are getting featured are new and fresh faces. And like these guys have been around for ages, but they haven't been exposed on TV. Um, so like the likes of Brody King, Bandido, getting major exposure. The likes of Jet Speed, aka Kevin Knight, and Mike Bailey. The likes of Josh Alexander. The likes of Kyle Fletcher been pushed into a main role. These are all guys who like feel fresh, and that's really helped AW. Like the flow of AW shows feel different in 2025. The tag game in AEW is far better than WWE. Yeah, miles better. But see, the thing is, it's miles better, but it doesn't necessarily have to be because WWE have, like, in my opinion, on paper, a load of good tag teams. It's just how they're featured isn't the same. They're not booked as well. They're not putting prominent spots on shows. They're not given time on pay-per-views. Um, I say this as the tag champion. One half the tag champions, Finn Balor, is wrestling Dragon Lee on Raw. Like this could easily be some sort of tag match. But yeah, it's just the featuring. I think the WWE tag team division is very, what would you call it, like very talented. It just doesn't get the featuring that it should. Another highlight of Dynamite for me was the Claudio Darby Allen match. like, so this week's Dynamite is their first of their 7 show residency in the 2300 Arena. 2300 Arena, probably better known as the old ECW Arena. There's only 1,000 people there, but that they have it mic'd so well. The atmosphere sounds incredible. Um, and the show starts off with the Mox Garcia match, and it finishes with like what felt like a Mike Awesome Spike Dudley match or something. Like this is what I'd imagine a Mike Awesome Spike Dudley match felt like at the time. Um, just tremendous. Claudio is like one of the best strong men in wrestling, and Darby Allin bumps and sells and plays like underdog babyface better than anyone in 2025, and it just like can and also Darby's just such a maniac. Like he took 3 bumps and I feel like I said this about every Darby match. He took 3 bumps in this match that legitimately like you wouldn't see some guys taking their whole career. He took 3 in a match. But just the storytelling is incredible between these two. Just the levels of frustration that Claudio goes to when wrestling Darby. The fact that he knows Darby can't be killed, but he tries so hard to kill him, and Darby keeps coming back. Um, when Darby was gone climbing the mountain, I wasn't like bad mountain him, but I was saying like he shouldn't be the guy to take the title off Mox, and I maintained that Hangman was the right person for that. But also, I kind of honestly forgot how how good Darby is, and now that he's back, I'm starting to remember. Aaron Reynolds, the WWE hasn't properly booked for tag division since the early 2000s. Tag wrestling just isn't a priority there ever. Yeah, like Vince, tag wrestling was never a priority with Vince. Um, I'm kind of seeing the legacy of that. That if WWE, if you're just a WWE fan, if that's the only wrestling that you watch or like, you probably aren't a huge fan of tag wrestling. Um, NXT changed that for a while, but you look at those NXT teams that came over to the main roster, none of them ever really got over either. Tell me, like, how are the Street Profits not considered one of the best tag teams in the world? Just because they just don't get the proper time and focus. Raw should probably put tag titles on Braun and Bronson to have some focus on the titles. Agree with that, Ron, 100%. Shane Shaz, Big Beefy Boy, Shane O'Keefe says SmackDown Tag Division has a good bit of focus. It gets time on TV, to be fair. It's just that SmackDown has been kind of shite recently. Jay Buddy says, how has Darby not been killed yet? I'll never know. Guy's unkillable. He seems determined to do damage to himself. He wants to go to space now after climbing Everest. The throw was scary. The throw was fucking terrifying, Ron. Terrifying. Jarbanahan says tag champs having singles matches to build to a tag team title match is nonsense. WWE do this all the time, most recently with Alexa Charlotte and Alba Piper, will just lead to a tag title match. It's lazy booking. It's lazy booking. I think a better way of doing it is if you're trying to build to a tag title match, like let's say they're like this is a perfect example of that. Aren't both of these guys members of factions? What if they had a 6-man tag or an 8-man tag in their factions and the tag one of the tag champions lost the pin? That way you're getting a better match out of it because like inevitably I think for TV shows, multi-man matches flow really well on TV. And not as well on pay-per-view. So you have an 8-man tag, and look now the tag champs got the win, so it doesn't even set up a fucking tag title match. I don't know what the point of this is. Um, so yeah, I think a better way to get there is through a multi-man match. Shane says, "Is Claudio the real killer of the Death Riders?" Yeah, Claudio's work in the last few months as emerging as the absolute like killer of the Death Riders has been incredible. If you notice, he's the one that's doing the most dastardly shit. He's the one that's physically doing the most dastardly shit. And I think eventually Claudio murders Mox and Eddie Kingston comes back and tells Mox that Eddie was right about Claudio all along, that Claudio's a piece of shit. I think that's where it's leading to. And what I'm hoping comes out of that is that Eddie and Mox maybe get a proper full run as a tag team because they were so badass as a tag team. If Double or Nothing was 2021 or 2021, Double or Nothing 2021, when the crowds came back and it opened with Mox and Eddie versus the Young Bucks for the tag titles. I felt like they should have put the titles on Mox and Eddie that night, but obviously they were telling a longer term story. But yeah, Claudio's the real killer. I think eventually he kills Mox, and then Eddie comes back, and we get Eddie and Mox teaming up. Darby claiming Everest has probably pushed him back down the title prospects pecking orders, passed out by a few guys now. Yeah, like he was number one the pecking order last September, October, and now, like realistically, he is behind Hangman, Swerve, Osprey, probably, uh, probably Okada, possibly Fletcher. He's down to like fifth or sixth. Aaron Reynolds says the only time tag titles feel big in WWE is when they do an angle with the world title, like Cena and Michaels back in the day. Yeah, that's very true. When they do a thing of like there's two big single stars end up having to be in a tag team, then that's the only time the tag division gets really full on focus. Like one of my favorite periods of WWE is that tag title tournament in 2022 that finished with He Who Cannot Be Named and Kurt Angle versus Edge and Rey Mysterio, I think it was, at No Mercy 2002. That was a tremendous tournament and a great tag title match. Now, I loved that, but also it was let's throw all these singles guys together. Darby said ages ago he's not wrestling for long, so he's doing a full career of bumps in half the time, it seems. David Ayers, you're 100% correct. He's like, he's trying to do, he's the modern Mick Foley, really. Jay White said, I'm going to say it now, don't hate me. I hate your man JD, lol. He should not be in a tag team with a god like Finn. Uh, Jay, you're going to get hate in here. Not from me specifically. I don't mind who people like or dislike. But what I will say about JD McDonough, when he was Jordan Devlin on the Indies, he was the champion of the Ireland's biggest promotion OTT, which me and Shane and Dunphy and John would go to all their shows. And he was a tremendous champion for that promotion, had unbelievable matches as the champion, particularly with Walter, now Gunther. They had a two-match series that the first Walter Devlin match, when Walter beat Devlin for the title at OTT back in probably 2019 or 18, was the best match I've seen live. David Ayer says, honestly, the bomb went off. Eddie would be the best babyface ever. Eddie Mock, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Sorry, the exploding barbed wire death match. If it kills me, David, it kills me. That moment, like, absolutely breaks my heart because that was a really good match. And the finish was amazing until the bomb didn't go off. Aaron Reynolds says Devlin's run just before going over there full time is an all timer. I totally agree with that. Now, like he's been used pretty good. Like if you're going to get a job on TV as a wrestler, he's had a really good position in the company. Like he's featured every week. He's in one of the top factions. Gets a lot of TV time. Gets to have some good matches. So he's had a very successful run in WWE. Like just because you're not pushed as a top guy doesn't mean you haven't had a successful run. But he's in a position where sometimes people won't really see him as being as good as he is. I know I saw him there myself a few times. I saw one of the Walter matches. I have always thought of him Prince Devitt knockoff. Yeah, and that's been a thing because he kind of looks like a bit like Finn as well or Devitt. Um, that has been a thing that's followed him around his whole career. Unfortunately for him, I don't think he'll shake it off now. Particularly being Finn's partner, who we have in the ring, New Day, is it? And that the Australian guy, Waller. Um, On to Death Before Dishonor. This was a banger pay per view. So for those of you who don't know, Death Before Dishonor was supposed it's again on in the old ECW arena. It was on Friday night. It was supposed to be on watchringofhonor.com behind the paywall, but that had some technical issues. So Tony Khan made the decision in real time to say, fuck it, just do it live on YouTube. So the show went free live on YouTube and has stayed free on YouTube since. There's so much great stuff on this show, in my opinion. Um, the Lee Moriarty Jelwa match, Shelwa, he's a CMLL guy. I don't really know how to pronounce his name. I hadn't seen much of him before the Lee Moriarty match. They wrestled a Pure Rules match. It was incredibly inventive. That Shelwa guy looked awesome. He was doing like all this kind of lucha mat wrestling that I'd never really seen before. Um, it just looked deadly. It was a great match. Um, Good point, Jared. Yeah, like you'd wonder what JD's role on the roster will be after. Judgment Day disband. But the way Triple H works, Judgment Day might never disband. Look at the bloodline. You can probably predict JD's future based on the bloodline. He will be in a subset of Judgment Day, feuding with another subset of Judgment Day for 5 years, and he'll get another two contracts out of it, and he'll make plenty of money. Um, so I'd highly recommend Lee Moriarty versus Shelwa. I'd highly recommend the tag match, the Outrunners versus Roosh and Sammy Guevara, and particularly the post match of that when Sammy Guevara joined Los Faction Ingobernables with Roosh. Beast Mortis is in that faction as well. And who's the other one? Jalisco, is it? So Sammy Guevara is now in that. I think that would be a good thing because Sammy has been very loyal to AEW, and one thing about Tony Khan is if guys are loyal to him, he will remain loyal to them. So I think uh, by virtue of Sammy joining LFI, LFI will get more time on TV. Roosh will get more time on TV. Also on this pay per view, Paul Walter Hauser, the guy from Karate Kid, not Karate Kid, Cobra Kai, who played that wacky older character who wanted to join the dojo. He's in. Is it called Blackbird, the TV show? The Prison One, really good TV show. He's a good actor, but he comes in here and he has and they've been building this street fight with QT Marshall for a few months now. They've built it on a few different shows. Paul Walter Hauser has been showing up in MLW and other places. He's a big wrestling fan, like he's a proper wrestling fan. And he had this banger match with QT Marshall. And I just text Johnny Martz, I knew he was watching it as well. I text him after. I was like, I think that's the best celebrity match I've seen since the Johnny Knoxville Sami Zayn one a few years ago. I loved the Johnny Knoxville Sami Zayn one. Perfect. Perfect celebrity professional wrestling match. But Paul Walter Hauser just extracted so much emotion from this match. He took legit nasty bumps. He worked, his work was like fine, like it was decent work. He took nasty bumps, he ran the blade, but also he extracted emotion from the crowd. I remember on Twitter earlier in the day before Dishonor, and the match graphic for this was going around, and people were like, "What the fuck is this? Such nonsense! Why is Tony putting this on Ring of Honor pay per view? Blah 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 blah." And like down to a man, all those same people afterwards were full of praise for this match. Like just a really special celebrity wrestling match. QT Marshall played his role perfectly. Look, QT Marshall is a really solid professional wrestler, perhaps lacking a bit of personality to ever like make him big in the mainstream. But like we know he's a good trainer, but also he is a very solid professional wrestler. Uh, Paul Walter Hauser has been training with Paul London. Doesn't surprise me. He looked really good. Paul London is in MLW, so that would make perfect sense. But Paul Walter Hauser looked really, really good. And it was a bit of a smoke and mirrors match, but that's fine. It's a celebrity, like what Bad Bunny was doing. Like Bad Bunny looked really good as well, but those matches were laid out very well. But QT Marshall played his part perfectly as the heel. Paul Walter Hauser like got the crowd on side. It was like the match had a very emotional closing stretch. Just surprised me no end. Tina and Mina Shirakawa had a really good match on the pay-per-view. I'd highly recommend that as well. Funny, actually, was it better than the Tina Tony Storm? No, probably not. But it was a really good match. But then, no joke, honestly, one of the matches of the year. Bandido versus Hechicero went 37 minutes for the Ring of Honor World Championship. And this comes to, was it marked out, I think, sent in or Cotton Crow maybe? Um, Bandido is the front runner for Wrestler of the Year. On Thursday, when I was thinking about what I'd talk about today on Monday, uh, I was thinking like talking about maybe John Moxley is having a sneaky late run for Wrestler of the Year, considering how bad his 2025 started off with the Cope stuff. But really, the last few months, Moxley has been like very under the radar, putting together a series like of really good pay-per-view matches, but also on top of that, really solid TV matches. But Bandido has come along, and I just think in the last few months blown everyone out of the water. We go back a few months to the previous Ring of Honor pay-per-view with his main event with Takeshita. That was on All In weekend in Texas. That was probably the best match that weekend, the Takeshita match. And now this weekend, his match with Hechicero is a legit top five match of the year so far. I'm not sure if I have it ahead of the Takeshita match because that match was incredible as well. Bandido Takeshita. But Bandido Hechicero is 37 minutes and it is a fucking love letter to wrestling. They go through this period of lucha mat wrestling. And a lot of people have this idea of lucha being all high flying, but lucha has like your brawlers. Look back at LA Park. He was a traditional lucha wrestler, but he would brawl and he would have hardcore matches. Like even El Dandy had mad hardcore matches. So like people get this idea of lucha and Rey Mysterio and flying around and Mystico and flying around. But Hechicero is lucha in the tradition of mat wrestling. Bandido has a little bit of everything. And they have these tremendous mat wrestling sequences for the opener of the match. Then they get into the more fast-paced lucha stuff, and the match just keeps building and keep building and kept building. Now, I will say I had one very slight complaint. Uh, I feel like they missed the peak by, and this is very small complaint, by about 2 minutes. I think they missed the peak by about 2 minutes. But and it wasn't as if there was anything wrong with the end of the match. There wasn't. It's just if you go and watch this match, it's free on YouTube. It literally is one of the best matches you will see in 2025. We got a few months left. It's been a really good year for wrestling, match quality, and in some cases, storylines and so on. There's Penta doing a big dive off the top. Yeah, Penta, like speaking of luchas who aren't just high flyers, Penta, we've seen him over the years have gruesome death matches. He did some wild stuff in Lucha Underground, but also in AAA. He did some wild, wild death matches there as well. So, like, Lucha is a little bit of everything. But yeah, go to Ring of Honor YouTube, Death Before Dishonor, find my two recommendations would be the Paul Walter Hauser versus QT Marshall street fight, but more than anything, Bandido and H0 had low key one of the matches of the year. Go check that out. Clash in Paris, pretty good pay per view. All in all, like the crowd was insane. I'd love to know what your thoughts on this are. Was the crowd too insane? Like, what do you think of that? Um, Dave Taylor says the way Raw is structured is not user friendly. It's not at all. Like, this is my big problem with WWE. The structuring of their shows is not user friendly. Like, they make it easy for you to change the channel so many times. Um, but yeah, look, in general, I'm a big fan of six-man tag matches, so this looks to be entertaining. At least a few good guys in there. Yeah, I like six-man tag matches. Um, yeah, what were your thoughts on Clash in Paris and particularly the crowd? Because while the crowd were super hot, I felt a lot of the time they were just singing for the sake of singing and it wasn't really interactive with the actual matches that were going on at that time. Do you think Penta has just cooled too much since his debut? He's definitely cooled, Jer. He's definitely cooled off. And Ray Phoenix never got going. Um, it feels like Penta has just slotted into almost a mid-card comedy act now, who does his catchphrase and dances around. And like, it seemed like when you arrived first, you had way more to offer than that, particularly given that the WWE main event scene feels kind of stale and old at the minute. You take the four-way match last night, LA Knight, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Jey Uso. The average age in that match was just under 42. Penta's around that age anyway, so but the main event scene feels stale to me. Wrestling Fan Wrestling Show, Shane says, seems like fans don't necessarily care for when the actual wrestling is happening for promos and entrance tunes. Yeah, yeah, that's it exactly. Like if you watched that pay-per-view last night, the, it's like the fans were entertaining themselves while the wrestling was happening, and um, then go like yeah, it was like a concert audience rather than a wrestling audience.
Only match David Ayres watched was Sheamus and Rusev, which was great. I really liked that match. Yeah, that was good. Really liked it. Roland C said the crowd gave Julia crickets on SD shows. They've completely mishandled her move. Yeah, they've massively mishandled Julia. But like again, the main roster crowd, as Shane is saying there, Julia's selling point is her in-ring ability. Um, and it, she's not on a show where that can be enhanced or highlighted properly. Well, see, oh yeah, oh she says I thought the crowd of Clash blew hot and cold. They were well up for it when they wanted to be, but if you take Becky versus Nikki for example, they made it very obvious when they didn't care. True, I thought as well. Uh, I suppose, look, I thought the Roman Reigns match was decent. The angle after that was designed to both write Roman off TV and to set up the main event angle. But it was a good opener. I thought the Rusev Sheamus match was good. The tag match was kind of just there. Street Profits and White Six, not like it was fine, inoffensive, like 3-star match, fine. Um, I thought then the Becky Nikki match was terrible. Nikki's just been gone for too long for someone who was never like super in ring gifted before. Um, so obviously there was an awful lot of rust there. Timing was really bad, wasn't laying it in, and so on. Then look, here's the thing, right? Ocean, was it you who said on Instagram earlier about Logan, about people saying that Logan Paul can't wrestle? I think it was you. Um, uh, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I really liked this John Cena Logan Paul match. And this was the type of match that John Cena's retirement tour could and should be. Um, Super fun match with Super John Cena doing his thing. And like almost like a greatest hits, but like Cena worked really hard in this match. So I really like this match. However, I think this match was a really good illustration of Logan Paul's weaknesses or deficiencies as a wrestler. Um, Logan Paul is excellent at a lot of different aspects of wrestling. He's a really good heel. He can get heat. He does his moves really well. Um, but he's certainly overrated. Now, I'm not saying he's bad because he's definitely not bad. I just don't think he's very good. I think the reason being is the space between the notes, the things he does between is he knows like this is what's frustrating actually. Yeah, right. I have the words in my head. This is what's frustrating. He knows this is the time where I do my crowd interaction. And he gets that right. He gets the timing right. But it's the how he does the interaction that he doesn't get right. He doesn't maximize what he's doing. He just knows that here is where I should do my crowd interaction. But it's the interaction he does isn't the right kind of interaction. Take for example, before he went for the first Hangman's flippy do over the ropes thing. Yeah, Ron, this is it. He doesn't get wrestling psychology, he just knows the spots. But like there's a small part of him that does kind of get a little bit of the psychology of like, I'm gonna piss off the crowd here. I know I should interact here, but he's not getting the most out of it. And what I would say to that is go and watch Kyle Fletcher's next match and watch what Kyle Fletcher does in those moments and compare it to what Logan Paul does in those moments. So the moment I was highlighting is before he goes for Hangman's finisher, where he flips over the ropes and hits the lariat. He's like doesn't know what to do on the ropes, so he just kind of starts like shaking and jumping a bit. It's like he knows in that moment I need to do something with the crowd here, but he doesn't know what to do. So compare that, and I know he's a heel, so he should be doing it different to Hangman. But look at how Hangman maximizes those moments when he's on the ropes, the positioning, the swell of the audience knowing what he's doing. But also look at the next Kyle Fletcher match and look at what he does in those moments of crowd interaction and how he does it with this like supreme confidence and control that Logan Paul doesn't have. Uh, and I don't know if Logan Paul is like a smart enough or introspective enough or reflective enough person to really make that change because he's getting praised all the time. So he's like, I'm doing the right things. And like because in a sense, he is doing the right thing. He is interacting with the crowd in a heel way at the right time, but he's not very good at maximizing it for an emotional payoff for the babyface. It's not stoogey enough. He needs to like stooge more for the babyface. And like, or if, like I'm saying Kyle Fletcher because I think he's the best at doing it now, even better than MJF. And like, if you go back, you go back and watch like a random territory match from TV in the 1980s. Every heel was brilliant at it. Then it's almost like a lost art. I think that's what Logan Paul is missing, and I think that's why his matches rarely reach this like emotional climax. This is different because he's in there with John Cena, and it was John Cena, in my opinion, that got this match over the line in terms of it feeling like an emotional payoff. Although for like John Cena's sixth or seventh or fifth or 10th last match, it didn't have what felt like the real emotional catharsis that it should have, given that it was in front of a fairly hot 30,000 crowd. Um, so it's I'm just, I don't think Logan Paul is that good. Ronan retracted his message. Why is that, Ronan? Why are you retracting that message? Jarbanan says, yeah, seems like he's been feuding with New Day for ages. Yeah, Clash was grand. Wasn't expecting much with the card on paper. Agree with the Logan Paul though. Thought he's just athletic but can't get story told. Like it's weird because you can get some of it, but it's missing some. Yeah, Logan Paul is actually what Jim Cornette says the Young Bucks are. It's funny, and it's what like like Joe those really tribal fans who it was a waste of time for Cena's last run. It was like it was a decent match, but like AJ Styles was right there for Cena. There's so many people that are right there for Cena. Um, Logan Paul is exactly what those real tribal WWE fans say Will Ospreay is, a spot monkey. That is Logan Paul, and like he does some of these spots really well. They look very athletically impressive, but you just can't maximize things for an emotional resonance or an emotional payoff. Um, and then look again. I think, and I hope Shane can clip this. I think Seth Rollins is the worst ever guy who's been pushed for 10 years. There's nobody in the history of wrestling who's been pushed as a top guy for 10 years who is as bad as Seth Rollins. I don't mean he's bad in ring. I mean this guy has terrible instincts when it comes to the finer details. He can do. He's like obviously an exceptional wrestler, and I would say he's one of the best triple threat wrestlers WWE has ever had. And they're a company who use the triple threat thing very often. There's very few triple threat wrestlers on Seth Rollins' level. But this is a guy whose instincts when it comes to character work is horrible. There's no subtlety. He's a sledgehammer. There's no evolution of character. This faction is floundering everywhere. It's not taken off because this guy just cannot tell an interesting, subtle story that draws you in. It just, bleh. That's what he's just, bleh. And like everything has to be more. He's always doing one step too much. Always. Like, go back to January and they recreated the spot last night when, that thing, Mox did it originally with Punk, where they fall onto his shoulders, bounce off the ropes, fall back onto his shoulders for another go to sleep. In Mox one, it just perfectly fell, slumped onto dead onto Punk's shoulders. Punk goes for the second one. Then Seth did it in the January match in the Netflix debut, and he did a little pirouette before falling onto his shoulders. This is what I mean. Like he got the idea right that we should actually call back to the Mox match with this. That was a good idea, but he can't just do that. He doesn't allow himself to just do that. He has to do the stupid pirouette. And then last night's one, he has to like shift his body weight around. He's always just like he's thinks we're stupid. I just think you think of what wrestlers have had a 10-year sustained push at the top of WWE. There's very few. I just can't figure out how Seth Rollins is a guy who's got that 10-year sustained push. Look, John Martin sent me a list of names last night of guys who were pushed in WWE over the last 10 years for a short period of time. And in that time period, Seth has gotten a 10-year push. And this list of guys, I'm getting close to it. This list of guys got no more than a 6-month push. Samoa Joe, Dean Ambrose, Kevin Owens, he's got a few short pushes, but never a 10-year sustained one. Kofi Kingston, Big E, Rusev, AJ. All those guys got short pushes over the last 10 years. And all that time, this company keeps going back to Seth Rollins. So Roland C says Seth is an 8 in the ring and everything else is a 5. Yeah, I'd actually say he's a 7 in the ring and everything else is 5. But we're basically in agreement. Jerbanan says, couldn't tell you the last time I've enjoyed Seth. His character, great wrestler, but sick of his interest. His entrance is doing my head in. You're a heel now. Change of fucking entrance. People say LA Knight is the Rock and Stone Cold together, but not as good. Seth is Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels, in your opinion. Do you really think he's that good? Blue Hat says, for me, I find a lot of Seth's character work to be corny. Do you know why we find it corny? Because I agree with that. I think corny is the perfect word for it. I find it corny because he's always pushing it one step too far, going over the top. He can never trust us as the audience to understand what he's doing without beating us over the head with it. He always, I'm the bad guy, so I'm going to do my stupid laugh. I'm going to wear these ridiculous clothing. And you can do the ridiculous clothing, but tone the character back a bit and actually tell us a story with the character. He's calling himself the visionary, right? What's his vision? Can anybody tell me what Seth Rollins' vision is? He's calling himself the visionary. Tonight's Raw opened up with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed saying you don't to Roman Reigns wasn't part of Seth's vision, and you, i.e. Jey Uso and LA Knight, you're not part of Seth's vision. What is Seth's vision? I get you, David. So you're saying he has a flamboyance of flair in the in-ring work of Michaels, but just not on that level. You mean, is it? Because I think like he models himself in ring on Shawn Michaels, but he doesn't understand what made Shawn Michaels great. David thinks again his vision is to ruin Punk's life, but is that it? Like you're calling yourself a visionary? Like a visionary is bigger than a single feud. A visionary is about like if you're going like you're a visionary. It's about changing the world. Visionaries change the world. They don't just mess with one person. I don't think the character has any like I don't think the character understands what character motivation is. You think of like a movie character, like really great wrestlers, like go back to 97 Bret Hart. When you want to look at character work, look at 1997 Bret the Hitman Hart. And this was a guy who had a chip on his shoulder and it bled into every promo. It bled into every decision he made. And it was really like some of the best character work you'll see in the history of wrestling. Um, Look at Hangman this year, a guy whose character work is just incredible. But like you can go to various eras of wrestling, even Mox's character. Like one of the complaints we had with Mox and Death Riders at the start is they were supposed to be a group of a guy. The leader is a visionary, and he has a vision for the future of professional wrestling and the future of AEW, and he's going to make this company bend to his vision. Vision with an oracle. What the fuck is that? It's just words that sound good, Jar. It's WWE. They just put out words that sound good together and sound smart, and then we'll all think this is smart. Like, I do think Becky joining this group is a good idea. It's just, can this group release a mission statement? Like, we go back to, like, we all complained that Mox's Death Riders are supposed to be this visionary group with this idea of changing AEW and professional wrestling, blah blah blah. But it was unclear of what they wanted to achieve. Um, and a lot of that came back into focus, and maybe it'll come back into focus for Seth and his Seth Riders in the build to WrestleMania or something. Because right now it just seems to be meandering and have no clear like idea of what this is supposed to be. Um, but for the Death Riders, it came into sharp focus, uh, coming into the Hangman stuff with Mox's vision of the company, forcing people to step up and blah blah blah, and forcing people to be a certain type of way. Um, and it being in sharp contrast with Hangman and his idea of this can be a place of redemption. And so Mox's and the Death Riders' mission statement actually, but the beauty of Mox's character is that he was just an unbelievable hypocrite. Um, the video Ron C said, or David Ayer says, WWE promos are SEO nonsense. That's search engine optimization. For those of you who don't know, I learned that term last week, David. So I understand it now because I'm trying to name these live podcasts or live streams, and I'm trying to name my upcoming WCW show using SEO. So now I see it everywhere, and you're 100% right. Roland C says the Vision are the most pointless faction. Heyman is wasted, and Braun and Bronson are just goons. No depth to any of them. It's actually, in my opinion, hurting Braun Breaker because now all he is again he's been reduced to a catchphrase, a guy who's going around barking and shaking with anger or shaking. Do you know when he like put Roman through the table last night? He starts shaking. Ooh. It's like the most amateur theatre shite I've ever seen. And trust me, Ronan knows this in the chat. Ronan knows how much amateur, semi-professional theatre I've done in my life. Uh, what Braun and Bronson and Seth are doing is the worst versions of that. Blue Hat says what worked for Brett was that his character was built into truth, while Seth is clearly playing a character that isn't genuine. Yeah, genuine is the word. I never feel that genuine um about what Seth is doing. There seems to be no underlying truth or honesty to any of it. David Ayer says good timing, so that's good timing to SEO. Yeah, thank you. I would have thought you I would have thought you had a typo last week if you typed in SEO. I was like, oh, SEO, what's this search engine? Oh, okay, okay. Shane asks, is Dom a future world champion? I think so, Shane. I think Dom's a future world champion. But can WWE stop like doing the same matches for 6 months straight? Please actually tell me what do you think of and it's not just this ring announcer, it was also Samantha Irving used to do it as well. Uh, I hate this new style of ring announcing. Does anyone else feel the same? Again, it's just something that doesn't feel genuine. It feels like very performative. Um, more cohesion at the Don Callis family. Let's be honest. The Don Callis family is the most interesting faction in wrestling at the moment. I'm trying to think, is there a more interesting faction? Is Ozawa's faction in Noah more interesting? Probably not. No, the Don Callis family are doing tremendous work at the moment. And when they really, if you noticed that in Dynamite this week, really teased um, the Takeshita Okada stuff that was done so well, followed up on Collision with some more Don Callis stuff. Don Callis is the best manager in wrestling right now, and they're going to be the top heel unit. Because I think by the end of 2025, we'll see the Debt Riders end, and Don Callis family will be for 2026 the top heel unit in AEW. Um, wouldn't be Braun is on the path to become the new Strowman. Oh, don't say that, Ronan. It could happen. Like it easily could happen. Uh, but like if that happens, it's a travesty because Braun is clearly tremendously talented. Why are these two guys wrestling in their jackets? Did I miss something? Okay, the jackets are coming off. Oh no, it's just Edge in his jacket. Yeah, I think Dom has the potential to be a future world champion. He's great character work. He's just so smarmy, and he's improved massively in the ring. I do think they should have him be the AAA world champion, mega campeon for a while, and let him kind of cut his teeth as a world like top guy in a promotion down there for a while. Um, yeah, Ronan, it would be a travesty if Braun became the new Strowman. Although Strowman had a few really good years, but Braun has like a scary level of potential. Like he's future top guy potential, future. I know they said a future WrestleMania main eventer, but like he could main event multiple WrestleManias with the potential he has. Jared Bannon says, won't be surprised if the carbon copy Triple H Batista thumbs down angle when he turns. Do you know what, Jared? You should bookmark this. Actually, screenshot that because I think there's a 90% chance that they will do that with Braun. I think there's a 90% chance because that's all they do now. It's like everything's a throwback, you know? And throwbacks can be done well in wrestling. It's just WWE hits over the head with them. And it's like they're in this kind of they've been caught in a cycle of like everything has to be a throwback so Michael Cole can scream like the Shield chair one more time, you know. So I think you should um screenshot that and post it here in 12 months after it happens. I think Dom has a higher ceiling than Braun, understands what character is and gets wrestling psychology. I think, yeah, at the moment anyway, he definitely has a better understanding of character depth, character variety. Because Braun is just doing the same shit over and over again, and like Braun has just in some ways been reduced to a spear and a bark, where we've seen so much character development from Dom over the last few years. Uh, Shane says JD and Finn have been banned from ringside after how Balor won against Dragon Lee. Good storytelling. That is good. It's a good idea. Obviously, I can't hear the commentary. I have it on super low, but I was worried if it was coming through the mic, this could get copyright stricken. I feel like he could turn out like Bobby Lashley in the mid 2000s. That is actually a possibility that I could see happening as well. Um, Look, Bobby ended up having a really good career despite some like Bobby was a guy you just look at him where you go, he's a WrestleMania main eventer, and Bobby probably never reached a level that he should or could have, but he ended up having a good career regardless. Um, wow, I didn't realize there was this people were kind of down a little bit on Braun. I know everything that's getting touched by this visionary faction at the moment is kind of shit. Uh, but I still have a lot of hope for Braun Breaker. Turns out everyone else thinks I'm wrong. I still have a lot of hope for him, but I think Ronan makes a good point there about Dom, like the way he understands what character and in-ring psychology is that Braun just hasn't got there yet, which is funny because Braun is the one who went through their developmental. Dom didn't really go through WWE developmental. If you remember, this might be no surprise at all. Before Dom came to WWE, he didn't he wasn't on NXT for 2 years before debuting on the main roster. But before he came to WWE, he went off and trained up in Canada with Lance Storm, which is there's a lot of guys who would say that Lance is one of the best trainers in the business at the minute. That kind of changes every few years, but Lance has a sterling reputation as a trainer. Braun's too good to be ruined by bad booking. I kind of feel like that as well, David. I kind of feel like he's too unique and special to be ruined by bad booking. But fucking never say never. Bobby had too much heat, had too much from the start there, protecting Braun. It seems, yeah, he had a promo at the start of the draw, him versus Fatu, future main event. I think out of all of them, Fatu has the highest upside personally. Uh, he's just so compelling. His promo style is so raw and genuine. It feels like this is the real guy speaking. And obviously, he's the by far out of Dom, Braun, and Jacob. he is the best, the most advanced in ring at the moment. Anyway, they might catch up. There's still have hope for Braun too, but he needs decent feud, not just attacking who set his feud with. Yeah, he needs his own shit. Like look at the way the Death Riders are used. They're used in so many multi-man matches and variations of tag matches, and then they get their own singles matches. Um, and yeah, it's all in support of Mox in like a variety of ways, but also they're just in so many other types of matches as well. And WWE don't really do that with their factions. They don't do eight-man tag matches. I think it's a company where TV would be helped by having that. I'm delighted they did that six-man tag match tonight there with Penta and the Viking Raiders against was it Grayson Waller and the New Day. Like they're the type of matches I think they should be doing more of, and like letting division or whatever they're called as a full faction wrestle like pretty much weekly, um, in six-man tag matches, and like let's get to see the dynamics between the three. Like what's the dynamic between Seth and Braun as like kind of tag partners? What's the dynamic between Seth and Bronson Reed? Because like Bronson Reed is awesome as well. I'd like to see more of that. But like, WWE have a very solid roster, to be fair. And Clash of Paris was good. There's another thing I was going to talk about, but I think something I want to think about some more. I might just do a separate video for this or add it into a week that didn't have three shows that were review worthy. Um, what are people thinking of the CM Punk Seth Rollins feud? Does anybody like this feud? This started in November 2023. We are now at the 1st of September 2025. This is Seth or Punk has essentially had two feuds since coming back to WWE. Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. And the CM Punk and Seth one actually started before the Drew one, and then kind of like took a break for the entirety of the Drew one. Blue Hat says dull, Ronan C says terrible. Yeah. This is something I was thinking of it this morning. I think this is the worst feud of the year. Mock David. Okay, everyone agrees with me. Right, hate it. Want it done. Typical Triple H rinse and repeat booking. Like, CM Punk has become CM Pop. Yeah, there's nothing punk about Punk at the minute. You can kind of see it in his face, though. He knows. But yeah, like this, let this thing die. Like, it's not helping Punk. It's not helping Seth. It's not even getting. When Seth screws Punk now, he's not even getting heat from it because nobody cares. Like he's not. There's no heat on Seth when he screws Punk over big time. Punk needs something different, but to know with who. That's the weird thing because like a few months. Shane says the greatest feud ever because he is a Punk mark. David Air says PG Punk. I love that PG Punk. CM Pop. All the corporate machine Punk. Um, all these takes on his name. Like, it's weird because CM Punk's one of my favorite wrestlers ever, but obviously I've kind of soured on him the last year. I've not soured on his career. Like, I think he's had an unbelievable career, but this WWE run is turning into utter dog shit. Blue Hat says WWE think it's Okada Tanahashi when it's closer to Randy Cena. Even Randy Cena, I think, is even Randy Cena. The mad thing about Randy and Cena is like these are guys who WWE wanted so hard to make these lifetime career rivals, but they had no chemistry. Whereas obviously Okada and Tanahashi had like soulmate level chemistry. I know Tanahashi had that with a few people, and Okada had it with a few people. Um, this is the most pointless Punk has ever been, and that includes time where you're right, Ron. CM Punk was more relevant during the time he was gone than he is right now. And I'm wondering, is that him or is it just the booking surrounding him? Is it a bit of both, like the fact that he went to Saudi and we see him going around to these corporate things in a suit? Or is it just Triple H's terrible booking of him? I don't know. Like, I kind of thought about it this morning. Um, so after the main event last night and the ending and the Becky Lynch stuff and all that, I literally got in the car and drove up to Electric Picnic Festival to collect some of my friends and drove home so I didn't get home till 1 a.m. And so I didn't really think about the main event after. I just said, because John Martin predicted Becky was going to be the one to interfere. Because when Punk cut that, or not Punk, when Seth cut that promo backstage, saying like, "Oh, I'm all on my own. Paul Heyman's in the hospital. Bronson and Braun are banned from the arena." I just put in our group, it's like, "Right, lads, who's the one interfering?" And John just said, "Oh, it's Becky," like straight away. Um, and I literally after, like literally straight after the main event, I put on a jumper, went to the car, drove to Stradbally, collected my friends, drove home. They're not wrestling fans; they were at Electric Picnic, so I wasn't in the car talking to them about the Punk stuff, or the Becky and Seth stuff. And it only hit me this morning when I woke up. I was like, "Holy shit! They're continuing the Punk and Seth feud even longer." And like, because they did the singles match at the Netflix debut, and Shane thought it was really good. I thought it was kind of boring. I thought it was like fine, like it was fine, but it was kind of boring. Then they did that cage match, which had basically a non-finish because Roman entered and pulled out Rollins, and then they had to do a triple threat match, and then they had to do a four-way match. It's just every trick in the book to keep this feud going without any payoff or any story beats along the way. She says the booking of Punk feels almost like a humiliation parade. I did feel that, yeah, and he started to wear it on his face. I wonder, are we going to get a Punk blow up soon, like he did in AEW, like a backstage absolute meltdown? Uh, Something in me broke after Cena versus Punk. Yeah, that was so crap. That was really bad. In Saudi as well, it was like heel Cena versus Punk in Saudi. It just felt like none of this feels right. Uh, okay, I think we'll leave it there today. We went an hour and 16 minutes. This might be our longest All Elite Morrow yet. Reason being for that is we had like unbelievable interaction in the chat today. Like we always have a load of interaction, but today felt particularly healthy in terms of the amount of interaction we've had. So thank you everyone there. Ronan, Blue Hat, David Ayres, always Jerry B, even you, Shane, even you. A couple of things to advertise. Wednesday is episode 1 of Total Extreme Wrestling, Total Extreme Morrow. Look, I might even give you a little preview of it, right? Let's have a look. Let's have a look in here. A little preview of what's to come. There I am. Look, there I am. Little preview of what's to come. Can I get into our channel? Uh, here. Oh, playlist. We're into playlist. There's a gaming one here, yeah. If I can yeah, okay. You'll get a little preview of what's coming on Wednesday. Episode 1, TEW, episode 0 is coming Wednesday. So it's there. You'll see the little thumbnail there, buzzing. I'm actually really looking forward to that. So check that out Wednesday. Um, Iron Man Morrow. I just did an Iron Man match, plus a bit more on my own. Can't wait for TEW stuff. Thank you, Oisin. Like, so it's episode 0 followed up by episode 1, and I'm considering releasing the two of them together just to actually so you see a full storyline play out, um, and then go week to week with future episodes because I have 3 recorded, and I have more actually recorded, not edited. I have 3 fully edited, but the first one is coming Wednesday. We might do a double drop, maybe Wednesday, Friday for episode 0 and episode 1, and then we'll go every Wednesday with those being released after that. But if you do watch it and you do like it, um, leave some comments and tell me like who do you want to see pushed. Like it'll be a nostalgia hit because there's a lot of old wrestlers in there. You're getting your Lex Lugers, you're getting your Matt Bournes, you're getting obviously Sting, young Steve Austin, and you're getting some of the 80s guys there, Ricky Martin, Tommy Rich. It's just such a cool roster. Ron Simmons, Big Van Vader, all of those guys on the roster. Making some big signings as well from other companies. Ricky Steamboat is doing tremendous stuff in the save. So I'm really looking forward to that coming out. That's coming Wednesday. If you're looking for something to watch in between, we did the Eddie Guerrero tribute. Eddie's a guy that might pop up in the Total Extreme Morrow universe. So yeah, check out our Eddie Guerrero video. Follow us on all the socials and all that. I'm tweeting away about All Japan in the 90s at the minute. I'm kind of doing Push El Dandy. I might actually do that. Sound Jerry B. Yeah, I don't sleep, you see. That's the thing. I work half 9 to 6 every day. Actually, at the moment, I'm working mostly 6 days a week. Um, taking over the family biz. And then I just come home the evenings, try and record some content. So thanks a million, and I shall see you guys soon. Like, subscribe, share, blah, 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 blah. Peace out. End stream.